Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second in a series of conversations that we're having with Katie Mallison. Katie is the founder of Thrive Wellness
Yes.
365, and she is an expert in functional nutrition. And so this week, given that, can you believe it, Katie? Christmas is a week from yesterday.
No, I know.
6 days left. And so we know after Christmas, then we have that week between Christmas and New Year's, and there's a lot of festivities going on, and there's a lot of holiday celebrations, and there's probably Christmas dinner, New Year's Eve, and those kinds of things. So we thought it would be really great to talk with you all about how can we, just in general, Kate, let's start generally. In general, how can we navigate through these holidays without getting ourselves in too much trouble when it comes to our food and our drinking?
Oh, of course. This is the time where we're together with our family, we're with our friends, we are doing things that we might not normally do, and we might be presented with food options and, alcohol and all of these things that wouldn't normally be a part of our everyday. So there are quite a few things that you can do to kind of prepare yourself.
All right, I want to hear them because we all probably get in the ditch a little bit on this
right?
now and then. So what do you got for us?
What do we got? So the first and foremost, that I like folks to do is write down your goals. Right? What is it that you do, and what is it that you're working towards every day?
Give us an example of that.
Okay, so I am training for my first ultramarathon.
Okay.
For example,
just an ultramarathon.
No, it's the shortest distance
yes.
that you can do.
Okay.
So that's in February.
Wow.
I could use this holiday season as an opportunity to just go off the rails
yes.
and not train and not eat properly and all of these things. But that's just going to take my training and put a setback in my training. And so I want to stay focused and still feel good and not lose all of that hard work that I've been, building up over the last several months.
Right.
So what I do is I have a training plan, and it is on my fridge. And so I check in with that all the time of, is this going to help me get to that goal, or is this going to cause a backslide? Now, that doesn't mean it has to be perfect by any means.
Right.
It just means that, there's a balance.
Okay.
Right.
So not all of us are going to run an ultramarathon.
No.
So for us non-ultramarathon people, what would be an example of a goal for a gentleman or a lady that's wanting to get through the holidays and kind of in one piece without gaining lots of weight or over drinking and whatnot? So would an okay goal be just to maintain my current weight through the holidays?
It could be maintained
like
current
that.
weight. It could also be for folks who they find that food causes issues with their joints. It could be that they want to move through the holiday season pain-free in their joints. And so how can we make decisions around the food and activity level that will help keep that pain at bay?
Got it. Okay. So make a goal, write down a goal that you have for yourself, one or two if you want. What else can we do just in general?
I would say it's helpful to plan things out.
Okay.
So I like to map out what my week is going to look like so that I can get ahead of things.
There you go.
If I know that I'm going to have a holiday party on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, then I'm going to rework my training schedule. I'll rework my food planning. I might do some meal prep on a certain day so that I can have some healthy snacks and kind of navigate that. So planning as prepared as you could possibly be, get it mapped out.
Got it. And we'll talk about the parties here in a second.
Yeah.
But anything else in general that we can do? That's good. We have the goal. We do some planning. What else?
Consistency.
Okay.
Remember that this is it's another time, right? It's just another week. It's not like it's this cut loose and everything goes out the window.
Yeah.
It's another week. It's another day, and take it one day at a time. Be consistent. Don't be perfect, because that doesn't exist.
That's exactly right. Okay. All right. And before we move on to holiday parties, anything else that we can talk about just in general?
In general, especially this time of year, and so I will full disclosure, I hate the cold. I hate the cold.
As we live in Southern California,
I know.
It's probably 20 degrees colder everywhere in the country.
I know.
Than it is here, right?
I know. But I just came back from Seattle, and when it's cold, it's 50 degrees in mornings like this. When it's cold, I am uncomfortable, people get uncomfortable, and it's easy to make excuses for not getting outside, not getting the fresh air, not, doing X, Y, or Z. So I would say plan, just as you're planning out your week, plan that activity time, plan that engagement time, plan to go out for a walk with a friend, have tea with a friend outside, but just get outside and get fresh air, get that sunshine, the vitamin D, bundle up, and get moving.
And just as important as the exercise is, I think in general, is to get good sleep. Let's talk about good sleep and some ways to help us get this good rest that we need.
Absolutely. So, of course, the late nights, we're out, we're looking at Christmas lights. Your body needs to recover. So, everybody's different. I require about 7 hours of sleep. My husband is an 8-hour kind of person. So find what works for you, but be consistent in maintaining that. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to run yourself ragged as you move through the holiday seasons, because that, takes away from your interactions with your family, with your friends. So maintaining a healthy sleep hygiene is always good. Now, there's a few things that you can do, right? So you can, if you're having trouble sleeping during this time of year, maybe you're just a little hopped up on the day, try some tart cherry juice, an ounce of tart cherry juice before you go to bed.
That has a natural thing.
Yep, has a lot of melatonin in that, and that will help you fall asleep and stay asleep. You can also, of course, increase your activity throughout, the early part of the day, maybe transition into some slower movement patterns throughout the evenings, and yoga, stretching. And then last, one important thing, and this is for every day, even outside of the holiday season, is starting to shut off the screens.
Yes.
At night.
Yes. And when you're on screens, these aren't mine, I have them in my office, but they have blue screen glasses if you need readers or you need a certain type of prescription to watch TV. You can get these very cool blue screen glasses, and it helps take the fatigue out of spending so much time in front of a cell phone or a computer screen or a TV screen. So
absolutely.
But shut down like at least an hour before you really want to go to sleep, right?
Absolutely. Now, there are a few folks out there who are going to try and push the envelope on this one a little bit. So on your cell phone, a lot of them have night mode, which takes out, I believe it's the blue light from the screen. And so it's supposed to be easier on the eyes and doesn't disrupt the sleep cycle, circadian rhythms. Part of why we're talking about ditching the screens is so that you can put it down and connect with people. Either connect with your partner at home or read a book, connect with yourself. Like, this is your time to unwind. This is a special time. I view it as kind of like my sacred time, just like I do in the morning. Like, this is my time. I've already given myself to the day. Now it's time for me.
Time. It really is so important having that. Just even if it's 15 minutes, quiet time, no other distractions. Okay. All right. Speaking of distractions, we have holiday parties and festivities and whatnot. Okay, let's talk to our viewers and our listeners. What are some things that they can do to make getting to these parties easier on them? There's temptation everywhere. There's probably a lot of alcohol. There's a lot of hot cocoa. There's a lot of probably cookies and candies and rich foods and whatnot. How can we walk through that landmine and come out the other side in one piece?
Yes. So there's a lot that you can do.
Okay.
And I'll tell you things that I personally do for myself that I found that has worked for me and my clients.
Okay.
So first thing you can do is eat before you go.
Yeah.
So if you know that you are going to, go to this place where there's this buffet with all these sweets and candies and foods that you would normally
go hungry.
Don't go hungry.
Right.
Because we have all been there. I mean, you've seen the Snickers commercials where the person turns into a diva, they get hangry, and you just go and you just fill your face. Don't do that. Right. If you can, eat something healthy before you go. And I would actually advise eating something that's a little bit higher in protein content. Doesn't have to be animal protein, but something that has a little bit more protein because it's going to be satiating.
Like some peanut butter, or
it could be some nut butter. It could be, I personally will usually eat like a smaller version of my dinner. So, or it might just be a couple scrambled eggs with some vegetables. And I'll do that before I leave so that when I get there, I'm actually not really interested in food, because that actually brings up another good point is often we go to these parties and we eat mindlessly.
Yes.
We're not actually checked in. Like, are you hungry?
Right.
I mean, I've been guilty of that. So it's not like I don't sit here on a pedestal by any means. But check in with yourself when you're by the buffet line, or if you find yourself just lifting your glass to get it refilled with another glass of wine, like actually check in and do you want that?
Exactly. And some of these, not only is there a buffet table and a bar, but there's actually people walking around asking you if you want more, right? How do you say no to that?
I know. I've actually had to tell people a few times, I'm good, please stop coming.
Yes.
Thank you.
You don't need to check back with me at all. I'm good for the rest of the evening. Right. Okay. What else can one do before they head off to their parties?
I would say exercise. You know, there's the basic things. Exercise. Right. Make sure that your day has been well planned. You've eaten well. You've slept well the night before. You know, because if you haven't slept well, you're actually going to be hungrier throughout the day, right? Because that cortisol is getting kicked off. It's dropping blood sugar, and it's going to cause you to have some of these cravings. So sleep, eat beforehand, exercise, and stay hydrated.
That's important. And let's talk about hydration here. There's a lot of different measuring sticks for what's the appropriate amount of water to drink per day. What do you have to say about that?
You know, as a general rule, I tell people half your body weight in ounces of water. You weigh 150 pounds, 75 ounces of water. Now you'll have to adjust that, of course, for any activity level, the temperature outside, and then also look at your entire diet. So there's water that you get from your vegetables and things like that naturally. So I'll use the half your body weight in ounces of water per day as kind of a general guide, but it's flexible. As most things, it's flexible. But keep in mind, if you're pumping yourself full of diuretics like coffee and those things, you might have to consume a little bit more.
And remember that, folks, coffee, hot tea, even though it feels good and you're in a cold environment and it tastes good in the morning and you can't wake up without it, it is a diuretic. It dehydrates you. So every glass, and alcohol is the same way. Every cup of coffee you drink, or every glass of wine, or every cup of tea you drink, you should probably drink 8 ounces of water to counterbalance the dehydration that's caused by that liquid.
Yeah, absolutely. And now when you're at a Christmas party, or out at dinner, order water. Sometimes you don't have to get just the plain water. Order sparkling water. Ask them to make a little mocktail out of it by putting in some bitters, or put some fresh squeezed juice in there and just kind of spice it up a little bit. Because we often don't drink enough water, and we can sit at dinner and have 3 glasses of wine and realize that our water glass has been sitting there empty.
And oftentimes that's why you wake up with a screaming headache the next morning as well, right? Because your brain needs some water.
So dehydrated, absolutely.
Okay, so that gets us through some of the tips for going out to the parties. Now, a lot of people travel over the holidays. You're away from your home. Sometimes you're eating in restaurants, you're eating in other people's homes, etc. Let's talk about some tips with our viewers. What can you do if you're traveling?
Traveling. Okay, so there's a lot that you can do for traveling. And we'll start with before you get on the plane, the car, the train, whatever it is that you're doing. Pack snacks. Stay hydrated. So that'll be one of the best things you can do. And again, I'll always lean towards protein-focused snacks, just because it tends to be a little bit more satiating. It doesn't have to, like I said, it doesn't have to be a chicken leg. It can be some almonds. It could be a couple hard-boiled eggs, things that you can take along with you.
Okay.
So first and foremost. Second thing, do your research. Where you're going. Notice that if you're going to be on the road for 10 hours, you're probably going to want to stop. I don't know if you're by yourself, it's a little bit easier to get away with the snacks that you pack. But when you have a car full of kids, you don't always things don't work out perfect, right? You kind of have to just go
to the bathroom.
Someone will have to go to the bathroom. Someone's hungry. So look to see, what are some healthy restaurant options along your way. So be prepared for that.
Got it.
And then the third thing is, when you get to your destination, and I am big on this, is I like to do the shopping. And I've mentioned in the past, I have celiac disease. So that tends to be my excuse for why I need to go do this. So I'm not burdening the person. But between all of us here, make something up if you have to. You can tell them, the host, that your doctor, your nutritionist, somebody said you needed to eat a certain way. And so therefore, you would love to, go to the grocery store or do the shopping, or even just to take some of the burden off of them. But then you can guarantee that you can pick out some healthy options for you.
And quite frankly, as someone who would have visitors, I would appreciate that, because it's difficult as a host sometimes to know what people like or what they can tolerate. And So I wouldn't feel like that was being rude at all. I would kind of actually enjoy
Good.
somebody saying that.
Good.
Okay, I'm going to include in the post notes for this conversation we're having today all these tips that we just talked about. However, I think it's important once we get past the holidays, really most of the things you've talked to us about today are good things to employ in your daily living.
Yes, I agree.
Right?
Yes.
So last week we gave you a food diary format that you could follow. And then on top of that, we can talk about making goals for yourself. This is a perfect time of the year to start thinking about this and planning ahead, doing meal preps and those kinds of things. And you just don't travel at Christmas, right? There's other times of the year that you're going to be on a road trip, and whether you're flying or driving, airports can be really horrific places to have to spend a lot of time. And oftentimes, I think they've gotten a little better, but oftentimes they don't have the healthiest food choices there. So having your little backpack of snacks is a good idea. Yep. What else do we want to leave our listeners with, our viewers with today, Katie, as far as managing through the holidays and keeping yourself out of the danger zone when it comes to eating and drinking?
You know, one thing that I skipped over was, you know, as we go to holiday parties or as we go to our friends and our family's houses, you know, most of us are going to bring something along, right, to help. I would recommend bring a vegetable dish, bring something that you know that you have a healthy option. And then when you're at the table, or you're seated at the table, you know, you can fill up on that. Right. Bring a couple different vegetable options. I feel like you can never go wrong. Unless you're going to a party and everybody's vegan, then bring the protein. And then the last thing that I would leave you with is remember that this is such a special time for connecting with friends and family, but don't forget to connect with yourself and hold some of these, you know, these daily rituals of when we sit down to eat, we're actually seated, we're in a calm environment, as calm as possible, and we're chewing our food, and we're just very thoughtful about where the actual eating process. I think it's really easy during this time of year, especially, and throughout the year, to get distracted. And so I would encourage you all to, if you can, remove as many distractions as possible while you're going through that process, the eating process, the bonding process, the community process.
I really like that a lot. And I'll tell you the one thing you just said that I can't emphasize enough is it's so important to chew your food because that's the beginning of the digestion process. And I can't tell you how many times people are in their work environments or they're out to eat and they're rushing through dinner. They may chew their food 3 times and swallow. Do you know how hard that is on the rest of your digestive system to manage food that hasn't been broken down enough?
It is so hard as a nutritionist to see that. Yeah. I would rather see somebody eat something unhealthy and chew it than just inhale the food. It's like watching a person who's doing a good morning, you know, the exercise, a good morning with bad form and breaking the spine. It's like nails on a chalkboard. Yes. So please chew your food if you can do one thing out of all of these.
Too, when you chew your food, one thing I've noticed, because I really do focus on this, that's when you get to taste all the flavor in the food. That's where the good stuff is when you chew it down a little bit.
Yeah, you get to taste it. You're actually giving your body, because there's a chemical process that's happening, right? I mean, you're starting to break down these nutrients in your mouth. And so you're mechanically breaking them down, you're chemically breaking them down, and you're allowing the process, you're giving your body a fighting chance, right? And you're allowing the process to actually be kicked off properly versus, I think, you know, I don't have a study to prove this, but you know, if you're eating something so fast and you're not chewing it, you're putting extra stress on the body. We're asking the body to perform in ways that it's really not made to do.
Absolutely.
Right? So give your body a fighting chance.
And I'll tell you the other thing I notice when I chew my food thoroughly, I get full faster.
Slow down.
Because your system has a little bit more time to actually realize what's going on. Oh, you're feeding me. I start to feel full and I start to feel satisfied. So it helps with that as well. You don't overeat as much, I think. So there you have it, everyone. Have a Merry Christmas. And we're going to put these tips and ideas in the show notes for you. And then we'll see you before New Year's for another talk on some topic on functional nutrition. If you have any questions for us, put them in the comments below. If you have any topics you would like us to talk more in depth about, put them in the comments below. We'll be sure to get back to you. I will also include Katie's website for you. And go out there, travel safe, eat well, drink wisely, and we'll see you again for the third in a series of a bunch of talks we're going to do about functional nutrition and how to take really good care of yourself. Until then,
Thank you.
have a kick-ass week. Enjoy your holidays, enjoy your family and friends, and we'll talk to you again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.